The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly, but then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard-to-recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.
You're listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in and glad to have you along for the ride. Another jam-packed show here for you today. One potential target for LSU's vacant tight ends coaching job is officially off the board. The Tigers' opening opponent, Clemson, has made an official change to their staff at defensive coordinator. Of course, it was reported earlier in the week, but the move became official on Tuesday afternoon. So we'll tell you how that impacts LSU's opener and what the Tigers can potentially be facing there when they head up to Clemson, South Carolina on August the 30th. And then LSU men's hoops. Boy, it's been a really rough start for them to conference play, but they finally get off the schneid last night, get their first conference win, a much-needed victory over Arkansas, 78-74 in the PMAC. Do have some thoughts on that we will get to close today's show. So go ahead and subscribe, share, like if you have not already. It's greatly appreciated. Follow on social media, Twitter X at Musso Matthew. On Facebook, you can find me on Instagram as well at Matthew Musso1. All of that is greatly appreciated. All right, let's go ahead and dive right in. We'll start, of course, with LSU football. So all our focus has really been on the transfer portal when it comes to the Tigers, and for good reason. They've been mighty impressive there, racking up 16 portal commitments, the number one transfer portal class in the nation. That's pretty much unanimous at this point for LSU, and it's been starter after starter after starter after starter. That's what should be dominating the headlines. But the other thing is, there was and is a open spot on LSU's coaching staff. Remember, Slade Nagel, your tight ends coach and special teams coordinator, left to become the offensive coordinator at Houston under Willie Fritz, who he served in that same role for Fritz at Tulane. And then actually was the interim head coach at Tulane when Fritz left for Houston. So the relationship there, you are tight ends coach, you become an OC, makes a lot of sense for him. Slade Nagel, best of luck. We had that conversation months ago when he took the job. One other conversation that we had a few weeks back, this was during bowl prep for LSU, was the possibility of Brian Kelly finally being able to bring in Tommy Rees, something that he has wanted to do throughout his time at LSU. That's not a secret. Y'all, Tommy Rees has talked about that on the record. Quick recap. If you're unfamiliar with that story, Tommy Rees obviously played for Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. They have a great relationship in that regard. He coached under Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, starting kind of analyst, moving his way all the way up to OC. He was Brian Kelly's OC at Notre Dame in Kelly's last year up in South Bend. When Kelly took the job in Baton Rouge, he tried to bring Tommy Rees with him there. And Tommy Rees, again, on the record, said at one point he was coming to Baton Rouge. Like, the decision had been made on his part. He was coming to LSU to be Brian Kelly's offensive coordinator. And then a late-night visit with Notre Dame AD Jack Swarbrick turned the tides, changed his mind. He stayed at Notre Dame for one more year, then obviously went to Alabama, and then landed with the Cleveland Browns after Nick Saban retired after 2023. Up in Cleveland, he was coaching tight ends and passing game. It made a lot of sense for him to potentially come down and be on staff for LSU if that's what Brian Kelly still wanted. And you might remember, if you listened to that conversation back a few weeks ago, my contention, why I was solely in favor of that move, had nothing to do with passing game or tight ends or Joe Sloan standing as the offensive coordinator or anything like that. I loved what Tommy Rees could bring to LSU in the running game, because he had just had, anywhere he had been, not just in charge of the offense, but the running game flourished at Alabama, at Notre Dame. Brian Kelly, we played a cut on the show that day when we talked about this from Kelly before the Alabama game in 2023 when he was going to face off against Reese, hallmarks of what Reese likes to do, and he mentioned physicality in the run game. That's what I liked about it. But on Tuesday, the Cleveland Browns promoted Tommy Reese to offensive coordinator. So that will not be the answer for LSU to fill that vacant tight ends role. We'll see where Reese's career ultimately takes him. If he stays in the NFL, if he gets to call plays, or if Kevin Stefanski continues to call plays, all of that deals with the Cleveland Browns. We'll just see. I'll be honest, I don't really care that much because I don't care about the Cleveland Browns. But that is now one name that would have made a lot of sense that has been scratched off the list for LSU. They will continue to search, and I would expect that now to actually pick up because it looks like they're kind of done for the time being in the transfer portal. You still have the spring window, so there might not be done overall. But for now, looks like they're kind of done after getting to Marcus Cooley in the boat. And we've talked plenty. You'd love an offensive tackle, but they do like the options that that they have coming back in 2025 to potentially fill that role. So we will just have to wait and see. And then again, you bring in a guy like Josh Thompson who has played both guard and tackle. So, we'll wait and see there. But as far as tight ends coach, it won't be Tommy Reese, but it will be somebody. You got to fill that position before you go into the season, before you go into spring practice. So expect that maybe to pick up here now that the transfer portal seems to have kind of wrapped up for the time being for LSU. We'll keep you updated on that whenever we get any type of information. One more LSU football note. Obviously, the Tigers open up the season in Clemson, South Carolina against the Clemson Tigers on August 30th, 2025. LSU is going to be desperate to win an opener. They have lost 5 straight, 3 of those under Brian Kelly. And if you want to achieve the goals that you have set out for 2025, which are a college football playoff appearance and deep run, winning that Clemson game is going to be paramount. That is going to be a tough environment that you're going into. It's going to be a really good Clemson team, and it might be a really improved Clemson team on defense. So the Tigers obviously part ways after the season with now former defensive coordinator Wes Goodwin. It was reported earlier in the week that Clemson would hire Tom Allen. Familiar name, should be. Obviously, Indiana head coach before Curt Cignetti, just spent the last season at Penn State as their defensive coordinator and also spent time in the SEC as well. So, obviously, definitely familiar name. They would hire him to be their defensive coordinator, and then Tuesday, that move was made official as the Clemson Board of Trustees agreed on the contract, the compensation, and a press conference is scheduled for Wednesday afternoon for Dabo Swinney to introduce Tom Allen. So what does that mean for the game? Well, this will be the second year in a row that LSU is facing a power conference opponent with a new defensive coordinator in the opener. Obviously, you saw the impact that happened to USC's defense just in an offseason without playing a game. And now, granted, LSU's offense was a little bit slow to get started that season. They kind of have been. Even in Jaden Daniels' Heisman year, LSU's offense was a little slow to get started against Florida State in that opener. So factor that in. And y'all, Tom Allen is a fantastic defensive coach, and this is a major upgrade for Clemson. You might be asking yourself, why would he take a lateral move to go to Clemson? Well, there's a couple reasons. He and his wife's daughters live in the Carolinas, so it puts them closer. Family seems to have been a pretty big reason. He did get a pay raise, obviously, of about $400,000 just in his first year taking the job at Clemson. So all those things factor in, and that's how you end up going from Power Conference DC to Power Conference DC. What is he going to bring to Clemson? Well, rejuvenation to that defense. Clemson's defense, y'all, struggled, to say the least. They were 85th in the nation against the run. You saw that in that quarterfinal game against Texas, where they gave up over 260 yards rushing. They were 53rd against the pass. You look at Tom Allen and his defense, y'all. The Penn State defense, it was one of the best in college football, but it gave up as many yards per play overall as Clemson did yards per play rushing. So they are definitely looking to improve that running defense. And when you look at LSU, running the football was a problem for you throughout the 2024 season. You're going to have a lot of new faces on the offensive line. You're hopeful that they can help improve your running game, but that's certainly going to present a challenge because I expect Tom Allen to be able to whip that Clemson defense in shape because they have talent up front. And you think of the hallmark of Dabo Swinney's Clemson defenses under Brent Venables when they were in their heyday, it was the talent up front. Allen will also most likely coach linebackers at Penn State. Wes Goodwin did that as well. So that is an opening, and Allen coached linebackers and coordinated the defense at Penn State. So he seemingly can fill both of those. As for kind of Penn State's defense overall, a year ago and what Tom Allen brings, the potential that he brings, and what Clemson is looking for from him, they were top 10 in just about every category. 7th in total defense, 8th in scoring defense. They finished 2nd nationally in tackles for loss, 5th in sacks. So again, like I said, up front is what you always kind of thought about with Clemson. And, I mean, Tom Allen's there to absolutely rejuvenate it. So, look, that's a really good hire. There's familiarity already with him on that staff as well. He spent time in the SEC under Hugh Freeze, who was Ole Miss's linebackers coach. Matt Luke was the offensive line coach in Oxford at the time. Both of them reunite now in Clemson. So there's familiarity on the staff with him. He's a culture fit, it seems. Dabo and his culture, it's very specific. Allen is thought to fit that perfectly. This seems like a match made, kind of in heaven for Clemson. So that's a big development for LSU's opening opponent in 2025, and I would expect that Clemson defense to take a major jump forward just through spring, fall camp, and the summer, just like you kind of saw USC's take the major step forward and look completely different, transformationally different, right, from a year ago when they opened up against LSU in Vegas. The same thing could happen when the Tigers head up to Clemson to face the Tigers to open up the season. We obviously will keep you posted on any and all updates with the Clemson Tigers as the offseason rolls along. All right, let's wrap things up here. LSU men's hoops, they get the win over Arkansas, 12-5, now 1-3 in the SEC. Their first conference win, 78-74, and boy, it did not get off to a great start for LSU, starting just 1 of 13. The size really bothered. The size and the length of Arkansas and John Calipari teams just in general bothered LSU early in that game. 1 of 13, as I said, just to start the ball game. But the good news is Arkansas wasn't scoring either. With about 14 minutes left in the half, Arkansas sitting on 4 points. It's 4-2, right? So that was able to keep you in there. You credit your defense as well and just some shoddy shooting by Arkansas. But eventually, the Hogs would get going and stretch their first half lead to 12 right around under 8 minutes to play. But late buckets got LSU down to 2 at the break, 36-34. So, yeah, you struggled in the first half like you had, but the late buckets, including Cam Carter with a buzzer beater, actually at the half, got it to 36-34. And then LSU jumped out quick in the second half, taking their first lead of the game and extending it to 4 just 3 minutes into the second stanza of play. Arkansas then countered with the 11-0 run. They took control of the game, or I should say retook control of the game. At that point, you're thinking, okay, here we go again. The team's just going to keep LSU at arm's length. But then Cam Carter took the damn game over. Cam Carter was incredible a night ago for LSU. 27 points. Clutch baskets down the stretch from 3, clutch free throws. It all led to a 21-5 LSU run that ultimately put them up 9 with about 6 minutes left to go in the ball game. But then Boogie Fland would score 4 consecutive baskets and get the Hogs back within 3 points, with about 3 minutes or so, maybe a little bit more than that to go in the ball game. But ultimately, Cam Carter, again down the stretch, jumper out of a timeout, put LSU up 7, and that was really with 2.5 minutes, and you had the separation needed. Because here's some things that LSU did fantastic in the second half. One of them, free throws. LSU at the free throw line last night was incredible. We mentioned the shots weren't falling for you in the paint early, but LSU didn't give up. They kept getting to the rim. Eventually those shots fell, and Arkansas piled up fouls. LSU was in the double bonus in the second half. Arkansas did not even get into the bonus. LSU did a fantastic job defending without fouling in the second half. And at the free throw line, with those Arkansas fouls piling up, LSU went 26 of 28 and had numerous clutch free throws down the stretch from Damian Collins, from Jordan Sears, from Mike Williams, from Cam Carter to ice that basketball game. You got Arkansas into position where they had to foul. The other thing that LSU did exceptionally well, look, we've talked so much about turnovers with this team, and LSU wasn't great in the turnover department in this game against Arkansas. They turned the ball over 15 times, which is right around their average. The difference is LSU forced 12 turnovers and got 15 points off of those turnovers. All 15 points off the turnovers for LSU came in the second half. And that was massive for LSU down the stretch in this ball game. A couple other things. Damian Collins might have turned in his best game as an LSU Tiger so far in this one. 30 minutes, only the 7 points, but he made both of his field goals, was 3 of 4 from the line, so extremely efficient. He grabbed 10 rebounds and blocked 4 shots. LSU blocked 11 shots on the night. Great rim protection. He had 4 of them, including the one at the end of the ball game to seal it. And it was a great rejection. He also had just a couple of thunderous dunks in the game as well. Damian Collins was awesome. And I loved the Mike Williams minutes. Season high 17 minutes off the bench. There was no Victorious Miller, so that opened the door more for Mike Williams. But he got in late in the game against Ole Miss on Saturday and scored 7 points in about 3 minutes of play. Now you give him 17 minutes off the bench, and Mike Williams was awesome. 8 points, made both of his field goals. One of them was a 3 and was 3 or 4 from the line, but made 2 clutch free throws down the stretch. LSU was +9 with Mike Williams in the ballgame. I want to see more of Mike Williams going forward. He's a guy who played plenty for you last season in the SEC. Let's give him some more run. Derek Fountain played some big minutes for LSU last night as well, and ultimately it results in the first victory. But LSU, that run they had at the end of the first half was huge to cut the lead down to 2. And then we've seen them be better in the second half, and they were again. But for them to be down 12, come back, for them to sustain an 11-0 run by Arkansas and come back, that shows grit. So that was one you had to have last night, and you got it. Now, yes, that can inspire some confidence, hopefully, for this team going forward, and maybe they can start playing some better basketball. It's not going to get better soon. Your next game is on the road in College Station. Then you have to go to Coleman Coliseum, and then Auburn comes to town. You're probably going to lose your next 3 games. So you're probably going to be sitting at 1-6. But after that, you have a bit of a reprieve until you hit the final 5 games of your conference slate. Can you make some hay there and try and play yourself back onto the NCAA tournament bubble? That's going to be a really tough challenge, but we'll see. But last night was really impressive. And again, one more thing on Cam Carter, y'all. Season high 27. He was 50% from 3 and a perfect 10 of 10 from the line, and they were clutch shots. He stepped up when LSU absolutely needed him to. That was his 8th 20-point game of the season. This team might not be very fun to watch right now, but Cam Carter is damn fun to watch. And this is the only year you have him, and he is putting on for the home state. And I encourage you to tune in just to watch number 5. He has been awesome so far for LSU this season and was again last night and was the biggest reason the Tigers were able to win that ball game and get over the hump finally in SEC play. Again, next game for them is on the road at Texas A&M against the Aggies in College Station. We'll keep you posted, obviously, keep you covered as Matt McMahon and the Tigers hope to right this ship here early in conference play and play some meaningful basketball down the stretch. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. Be sure to subscribe, share, like, follow on social media. Appreciate everybody listening, tuning in, being here, and would love for you to be here next time for more on LSU Daily.
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly. But then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard-to-recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.